If you're going to borrow money to buy rental property, real estate investment property, I need you to understand this one thing before you ever get started. Or if you're already involved, I need you to think about this. You could lose everything. You could actually end up in much worse shape than you were before you started. If you're going to borrow money to invest in real estate, you need to understand if you do it wrong, you could lose everything. So my goal and my purpose is to help you avoid doing it wrong. Uh, and I want to share in this video, I want to share with you one of the principles that I have used to experience success in real estate investing. What does success even mean? Well, success means a lot of things, but three things in particular. Success investing in real estate means buying the right properties. You want to buy the right property. Number two, you want to be able to keep what you purchase. It would be horrible to buy property, go to all of the trouble that you have to go through to buy property. It would be horrible to do that and then lose the property. So number one, I want to buy the right properties. Number two, I want to be able to keep the properties that I purchase. And number three, I want my real estate investment business to lead me to financial independence. Buy the right properties, keep the right properties, and ultimately experience financial freedom. I have been investing for 23 years. I was a real estate investor through the Great Recession of 2008. I continued to be a real estate investor during COVID, and I continue to be an active real estate investor today. But I have seen what can happen when things go wrong, especially when you have borrowed money to buy real estate. And I have borrowed money to buy real estate. I'm not opposed to borrowing money to buy real estate, but you've got to do it a right way so that you end up getting to experience fantastic success. I want you to experience fantastic success. Uh, Let me say this. I have seen people be destroyed financially, not because real estate doesn't work, but because it simply wasn't done the proper way. Well, how do you do it the proper way? Well, you've got to minimize the risk. Everything you do has risk. Every investment you ever make has risk. But what we've got to do is minimize the risk. So listen to this. Successful real estate investing must be done in a way that reduces risk to the greatest degree possible. I'm going to say it again. Successful real estate investing must be done in a way that reduces risk to the greatest degree possible. So we'll start with this principle. You got to know the numbers. You've got to know the numbers. But more importantly, you've got to know the numbers to the best degree possible, because that is what is going to help you survive and be successful in the long run. Jim Rohn used to say, the numbers tell the whole story. You've got to know your numbers. If you watch Shark Tank on TV, they always want to know, what are the numbers? Tell me the numbers. You can say, Kevin O'Leary is always saying, give me the numbers. Why are the numbers important? Because the numbers make all the difference in the world. If you don't understand this before you borrow money, you don't have a solid real estate investing, wealth building plan, and you could, in fact, be headed for disaster. I want to talk to you about the worst case scenario principle. This is what I call the peaceful path to real estate investing. You've got to know the numbers, but you've also got to evaluate every purchase based on worst case scenario. If the worst, you try to imagine the worst that could possibly happen, and you work those numbers. And if the property still looks good under these conditions, it may be worth a good property. I mean, it may be worth investing in. If the property will hold up under the worst case scenario, it may then be a good investment property. There are other things to consider. This is just the first step. The 2008 recession was a major catastrophe in the marketplace. And I bought property through the Great Recession. I was blessed and I was fortunate. And I was able to continue to borrow money successfully and grow my business through the Great Recession. COVID was a horrible time for a lot of real estate investors, but I was blessed. I was fortunate. By hard work and a lot of due diligence and the favor of God, made it through COVID extremely well. And I thank God for that. So borrowing money to buy real estate is not a bad thing, but you've got to do it the right way, because sometimes things go wrong. Sometimes things go terribly wrong. The Great Recession, COVID, are just two examples of that. But if you don't understand this before you borrow, then you don't have a solid real estate investing, wealth building plan. In fact, you could be headed for disaster. I'm a very optimistic person. My glass is always half full. It's always a beautiful day in the neighborhood for me. But when I analyze a piece of property, I intentionally look at the numbers as if the worst thing in the world could happen. Sometime it does. If the numbers hold up in a worst case scenario, then the property I'm looking at may be a good property to purchase. It still may not be a good property to purchase, because this is only the first test. Do the numbers hold up in a worst case scenario? I've got to know this before I move forward. And if after doing all of this, I still can't find a reason not to buy the property, then it might be a good property to purchase. What I'm talking to you about right now will give you the opportunity to avoid disasters and strengthen your negotiation ability, because I'm actively looking for holes that could sink the ship. When I look at a piece of property to determine if I want to invest, I'm looking for holes that might sink the ship so that I can avoid the disaster before it happens. This approach gives me a much stronger position during my negotiations, because when a seller understands that my concerns are based on realistic calculations and realistic numbers and not emotions, not games, then the sellers, they realize that I'm not simply trying to hammer them for a discount. I've got genuine concerns. If the property will not work for me based on the numbers that I'm using, and I can show those numbers to the seller, it gives the seller an opportunity to sit on my side of the table and say, you know what, this guy really is trying to buy my property, and I see the dilemma. Let me see if I can help him. Because I'm simply trying to make a responsible, disciplined, and safe decision about the property that I'm looking at. So let me talk about some of the questions that I ask every time I look at a property. Number one, what is the absolute minimum that I could rent this property for? What is the absolute minimum that I could rent this property for, even in a bad economy? What's the cost of the insurance today? How much could it go up to next year? If it rises to that level, do the numbers still work? How high could my mortgage go? Worst case scenario, how high is my mortgage going to go? If the mortgage goes that high, if my payments go that high, is that going to be a problem, or is this still going to be a good piece of property? After I subtract all of my known expenses and allowing for unexpected expenses, how much net monthly profit and cash flow am I looking at? Is that enough? These same questions have to be asked in regard to property taxes. How much are my property taxes now? How much could they go up? This mindset will protect you. The approach may seem overly conservative. It may even seem unreasonable. This is unreasonable for a lot of people. But if you want to make sure that you can keep your property, you must analyze the numbers through the lens of the worst case scenario. Listen to this. I'm not looking for reasons to talk myself into buying a property. I'm looking for reasons to not buy the property. I want to buy all property. I want to buy it all. Most of it doesn't make sense. So I'm not looking for a way to make a property purchase work. I'm looking for reasons it won't work for my own safety, because I want to get to keep the property that I purchase. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I hope it was helpful. Real estate can be a powerful vehicle for building wealth, but only if you approach it the right way. My name is Lynn. Uh, I genuinely love helping people to the best of my ability to think clearly and responsibly about real estate investing. If you have any questions, please leave your questions in the comment. I try to read them. I try to respond. Uh, if you would like, I have a checklist, a simple checklist uh, based on what we've talked about today that would help you in your property purchasing, analyzing initial stages. Uh, if you'll just in the comments type the word checklist, I'll try to get that to you. And if you'd like to hear more teaching like this, please like and subscribe. Leave me a comment, leave me your questions, and I'll do my best to help you any way that I can. God bless. Have a great day.